Hi folks, so I actually tried to record this video a few days ago, but my iPhone cache was so full that that was another story altogether. So this video is a few days later than it should be, but it's still talking about energies that are current. And I think it's worth listening to because it describes the current state of energies. That is going to shift when the new moon on May the 4th happens. It is going to happen on May the 4th, 3:45 p.m. Pacific time. And I'll post a video related to the new moon around the time of the new moon or probably after the new moon, which is the way I like to do it. So as those of you who've been watching my videos know, and I'm going to do a quick recap of the Mercury retrograde Pisces energies that I have been talking about ad nauseum now for the past 5 or 6 videos. And let me just get that out of the way. February 10th to April the 17th, Mercury was in the sign of Pisces, uncomfortable in the sign of Pisces. And it's possible that we were revisiting themes and topics and subjects that were related to crises in 2015 and 2016, and then that came up the middle of November, November the 15th actually to be precise, of 2018, and December 31st, 2018. So this was from February the 10th of this year to April the 17th. Between February the 10th and April the 17th, Mercury came into Pisces, almost went through Pisces, went retrograde on March the 5th, then went direct on March the 28th, and then moved out of Pisces on April the 17th. Mercury in Pisces, not happy. And what was compromised was all mercurial functions: cognition, communication, our ability to process and articulate whatever it was that was going on. And indeed, based on some of the other planetary activity at that time, it's very likely that we were dealing with things that were murky and confusing and had some sort of an element of deceit associated with them, or thievery even, or robbery. Just however that played out in each person's life. And Mercury's inability to articulate and understand, not only did we not have a sense of, there was a certain amount of furtiveness to it, and our minds were simply not in a place where we could grasp and understand and put into words and process and therefore take action to whatever it was that was going on during the months of February, March, and much of April till April the 17th. In addition, the planet Venus, one of the 2 feminine planets, I've talked in previous videos as to how it is that women are underrepresented in the planetary world of astrology. All the other significant female entities are asteroids, Ceres and Lilith and Athena. And anyway, we will, and of course the 2 female entities are looked at really from very masculine perspectives. The moon sort of takes on the shadow side of feminine energy, and Venus takes on the desire side of feminine energy, money, beauty, relationships, love, culture, luxuries, arts. Anyway, Venus was in Pisces while Mercury was there from, as I recall, from March the 26th till relatively recently, April the 20th or 21st, April the 20th. And Venus's arrival into Pisces on April the 26th, just before Mercury went direct, certainly helped things from a relationship perspective, and may have created the opportunity for some kind of resolution and healing moving forward, but we were by no means done. Now, let's move on to why I'm doing this video and what's going on with the sign of Aries, which is the next sign over from Pisces. During this time, on March the 5th, we had a new moon in Aries, and the sign of Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. When you have the spring equinox, you often consider that the start of the new year, and it's the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere folks, you too are severely underrepresented in the sort of iconography and worldview of Western astrology or astrology in general. So, miles to go. So one would expect that with the sun's entry into the sign of Aries around March the 20th, and the new moon in Aries, which was on April the 5th, not March the 5th, April the 5th, we would start to feel the Aries energy a whole lot more. But because we were so preoccupied with these 2015, 2016 crises and November 15th to December 31st, 2018 related crises and February 10th onwards dealing with the sign of Pisces, Aries got a little overshadowed. Well, April 17th, Mercury moved from the sign of Pisces into Aries. April 20th, Venus moved from the sign of Pisces into Aries. Now, this means that the Aries part of your chart, and it would help you to know what that's in, but it doesn't have to, and I'll explain that in a second. Oh, my hair, oh, the wind. Has now become a little bit more prominent and a little bit more active, but for a brief period of time, because certainly the sun is already in the sign of Taurus right now, and we're going to have the new moon in Taurus this weekend, which we all should look forward to, really, frankly. Truly a reset of energies at that point in time. But let's really talk about the heart of this reading, which it has taken me 6 minutes to get to, after all that context setting about where we've been, because Mercury in Aries and Venus in Aries have created a reversal of energies since about April the 17th to April the 20th. It's not that long time ago. It's not that far ago. It's about 10, 15 days ago. And if you really contemplate, if I really did this video when I wanted to about a week ago, this would have been really observable. But if you really want to cast your eye back by about a couple of weeks, notice the shift or the change in energy. The planet Mercury, the planet of thinking, cognition, making sense of things, articulating them. And by making sense of them, I mean making sense of them insofar as the mind can make sense of anything. A planet that very much deals with the reality of things and deals with communication and the use of words to create reality by articulating, processing, and communicating, whether in writing or by speaking, whatever's going on. Well, as I said, in the sign of Pisces from February the 10th to April the 17th, Mercury didn't, it was as if Mercury was Superman wearing kryptonite. Mercury's powers were diminished, and we were not able to make sense of a lot of things. And things were very foggy and very murky and very muddy at that time. Well, certainly after April the 17th, that energy shifted. And not only did things become clearer, but this is the thing to reflect on. Our communication became a lot more pointed and a lot more focused and a lot more directed and a lot more eager to take action. The sign of Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. Mars is the male planet, the god of war. Mars is a direct planet. It has a lot of energy and testosterone, and we all have Mars in some part of the chart. So whether it's the male planet or whether Venus is the female planet affects everyone in some way, irrespective of what your actual gender or gender identification or orientation is. So at some point or some place, this planet that can that shoots the arrows and hits the bullseyes and likes to move things forward and is generally an uncomfortable sign insofar as it uses discomfort to make changes. It's what I would call a low pain threshold sign. So if Aries is a sign that notices what is not working for it and seeks to make improvements and changes. It does not dilly-dally. It has a leadership quality. It is a direct sign. It is a sign of action. And Mercury is much happier being in Aries than it was in Pisces. And it is reflecting in our ability to communicate, send emails, be on the telephone, make agreements, have discussions, talk about contracts, all of that. And the thing to note is that all of our thinking and writing and communicating may actually be quite pointed, may be very forward moving, may have a kind of firing on all cylinders aspect of it, and may be somewhat combative. Just because the planets have moved in Aries doesn't mean that the issues that we were dealing with in the sign of Pisces are over. When planets move from one part of the chart to the next, what is fascinating is that the narrative continues. It doesn't just drop off. And the houses in the chart where the signs sit have some sort of conversation and relationship with each other. You know, and I'm not going to go into that here, but the bottom line is if Mercury for you moved on April the 17th from the 8th house to the 9th house, there's a relationship between those two houses. And so the narrative or the conversation or your life themes continue, but they progress. And they're currently progressing since April the 20th, April the 17th, in a much more directed, pointed, somewhat combative, but very forward moving, very shoot the arrows away. It doesn't matter whether you're male, whether you're female, however you identify. Communication over the past 10, 12, 13 days has been greater, clearer, more clarifying, more pointed, more directed, and there's a greater opportunity for clarity, but most of all, there's a greater opportunity to use words to make progress. Now, Venus, the female planet, in the sign of Aries, is extremely uncomfortable. Venus is the sign of relationships. Venus is the sign of harmony, beauty, balance. And Aries, for all its gorgeously necessary characteristics, is really not very concerned with balance, harmony, or beauty, unless that is what it is going after. And when it goes after something, it wants it. There's no dates, and there's no pouring the champagne, and there's no strawberries. It is, I want this, and I want this now. Aries has a very directed, almost rapacious quality to it, right? It's a kind of a go-getter sign at its best, kind of a violent sign at its worst. Venus is very conscious of ensuring that the divine feminine is honored, who would like the champagne to be poured, who would like to go on a few 100 million dates to make sure that she's feeling comfortable, is in a hot and dry sign that is not to her liking. And there's every possibility that the relationship sign is going, get me out of here. Too many arrows, too much direction, not enough handshakes. Now here's the beauty of Mercury's energy here, which is it is actually moving things forward. It is creating more resolutions in some senses than it was from February the 10th to April the 17th. But Venus, who came in here on April the 20th and is going to be here till May the 15th, is here to say, if with all this communication and all this quick moving energy and all this forward motion, there are relationships that you want to preserve, then really think about where it is that you may need to cool off a little bit. Because chances are, with all this communicating and shooting around and sending emails and having phone conversations and talking about agreements and talking about contracts and backs and forths and all sorts, in which case there would be forward movement, but someone may potentially stand to lose. And some of this winning and losing, or some of these contractual things, may be related to some of the activities and the furtive activities that were going on in February, March, and April, but are becoming clearer. But people just have that much more energy and direction to get things done, get things talked about, and get things moving. Venus is here to say, it could be that Venus just needs to take a break. It could be that Venus is uncomfortable. It could be there's a larger message here that says, if a relationship has served its purpose, then maybe the arrows being shot around through communication are going to hurt it, damage it, kill it, end it. And maybe that's desired, maybe that's necessary. Maybe that is part of the forward movement that needs to happen. Maybe that is part of the burning off that needs to be happening. Maybe that is maybe those are the doors that need to be closed behind us so we can move forward towards the doors that are opening. And Aries has a very doors opening quality. But just consider, as you head towards May the 15th, when Venus enters Taurus and becomes infinitely happier, delighted to be in Taurus. And this is why the new moon in Taurus this weekend is helpful and more stabilizing. Just consider that if there are relationships that are coming under a certain amount of crossfire right now and that are important to you, in the middle of all the forward movement and progress that is being made, see if you can't put a bit of protection around that flame, because it may be that after May the 4th, but especially after May the 15th, there's a chance to help it out and let the flame steady again. Okay? So the shift in the energies is that Venus's comfort has now become Venus's discomfort from Pisces to Aries, and Mercury's intense discomfort has become almost a kind of haste and joy and direction, almost like can't help it. The progress is of that sort. We're just moving forward, and we're having conversation, we're making decisions, and we think we're making decisions, and we're shooting those arrows and getting things done in a way that we could not in February, March, and April. But just think about how it is that the divine feminine in all of us, that somehow, somewhere needs to be honored, is being affected by all this, irrespective of whether you're male or female. The only thing I will say is that if the divine feminine in you felt dishonored in February, March, and April, then it could be that she's going to assert herself now and use Mercury to push things to a place of comfort for herself. So Venus in Aries is uncomfortable, but Venus in Aries might use Aries' combative and warlike energy to fight things out so that she can feel honored in what had perhaps become a more one-sided relationship. So lots of complexity to the Venus and Aries energy, but it doesn't have to be all bad. It could be that if you felt somehow slighted or mistreated or felt like people were cheating on you, or it could be that the time since April the 17th and April the 20th, it could be that your inner Venus is either right now extremely uncomfortable, or it could be that your inner Venus is kind of taking on, for those familiar with the Hindu iconography, kind of a Durga Kali role, kind of a, I am going to assert myself and use the arrows of Mercury to set boundaries in a different place. Of course, everyone is going to feel like they want to do that. But I will say again, the only pause button that you should have your finger on as you're enjoying making all this forward movement and all this progress is to say, ultimately, no matter how bad things are, is this relationship really worth preserving? And so while this forward movement and progress is happening, can I still put my hands around the flame so that maybe after March the 4th, but certainly after March the 15th, I can help it out? Now, after March the 15th, it's not as if there isn't a fly in the ointment. There kind of is, insofar as Mars moves into the sign of Cancer at that time, and it's not really happy about that. But this is the thing with astrology, and this is the thing with the chart. There are transits that are positive and helpful, and then there are transits that are more challenging and complicated. And certainly Venus in Aries is a challenging or complicated transit. But if Venus in Aries is helping you to right relationship wrongs, or at least, let's not use the word right. Let's say if Venus in Aries and Mercury in Aries are allowing you to have conversations that you felt you could not have in February, March, and April, and take certain actions and steps for everybody to kind of start the push and pull that is needed to happen and could not happen in February, March, and April because we were so stuck and so murky, then it could be that Venus in Aries also has a purpose, and Mars in Cancer will have its purpose, as uncomfortable as it might be. So let's just trust the process, trust the narrative, trust where the planets are going to be this year. Always different, the combination of where the planets are, and take it from there. But in the meantime, use and enjoy the ability to use words to redress relationship issues, but consider the potential cost on a relationship and whether or not somewhere energetically those relationships, the core of that relationship somehow still needs to be protected as you're moving forward, and how it is that that might be able to occur. The energies will shift after. I know that the Sun is in Taurus and Uranus is in Taurus, but the energies will shift. We'll feel the Taurus energy. We're already feeling the Taurus energy. but we will feel the Taurus energy much more after this weekend. And then, of course, as I said, May the 6th, May the 4th is a new moon. May the 4th be with you. May the 6th is Mercury moving into Taurus. Taurus energy gets stronger right after the new moon. And then May the 15th, Venus moves into Taurus, which it rules and loves. So we do have something to look forward to. All right, I will be back in touch in a few days. Thanks. Bye. Oh, one more thing. Let me talk about my iPhone cache issues. Very Mercury in Aries. If I try to resolve my iPhone cache issues while Mercury was retrograde, chances are it would not be a smoother process. I did some research. I figured out what I needed to do. Bam, 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 cache cleared. Yes, I couldn't do the video on time, but my phone is functioning much more effectively, allowing me to use communication and use this communication device in order to do whatever it is that I want to do. Bingo, bingo. All right, see you guys. Bye.